Welcome back, infrastructure admins. Today's explainer is a laser-focused exam prep session. We're zeroing in on exactly what you need to know for the Nutanix NCP-MCI 7.5 certification, specifically Section 4.5, which is all about the recycle bin. We're going to keep a steady instructional pace right from the jump, so you can truly master this material and absolutely crush this part of the test.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We'll start with Section 1, why the recycle bin matters. Then we'll move into Section 2, walk through managing the bin. After that, we'll hit Section 3, exam traps and edge cases, and finally we'll wrap up with Section 4, key facts to memorize. We're sticking strictly to the exact thresholds and concepts you need to pass this section. All right, Section 1, why the recycle bin matters, a safety net for admins.
So what exactly are we talking about here? When you're managing enterprise infrastructure, look, mistakes happen. Thankfully, the Nutanix Acropolis operating system, or AOS for short, gives us a built-in safety net. The recycle bin is a feature that retains deleted virtual machine, or VM, and virtual disk, or vDisk files and config data. Just to quickly level set, a VM is your virtual compute instance, and a vDisk is the virtual storage drive attached to it. Now, for the exam, it is absolutely crucial to remember that this feature is on by default. It's literally designed right out of the box to save admins from those dreaded accidental deletions. And the magic number you need to burn into your memory is 24. 24 hours. That is the absolute maximum retention time. Once a VM or vDisk gets deleted, the recycle bin holds on to those files for up to 24 hours before AOS automatically purges them for good. But keep in mind, it's not a guarantee. If your cluster starts running out of free disk space and hits critical thresholds, AOS will step in and delete those files way before the 24 hours are up, just to keep your primary cluster running smoothly. Moving right along, Section 2 is our walkthrough, managing the bin, covering navigation and operations. On exam day, knowing the concepts isn't enough. They are going to test if you actually know how to navigate the UI. So picture yourself in the interface. Imagine you need to verify or change the recycle bin status. Here's the exact path. First, you log into the Prism Element web console. Next, pull down the menu and select Settings. Then, over in the left navigation pane, under the General section, click on Cluster Details. Finally, right there in that Cluster Details window, you're going to see a checkbox labeled Retain Deleted VMs for 24 hours. Checking or unchecking that exact box is how you toggle the feature for the entire cluster. Now, here is a massive point, a total trap for the exam. Let's say you accidentally delete a VM. You know the recycle bin is on, and it's only been, say, 2 hours. How do you restore it? The answer is, you can't, not by yourself anyway. While the bin is safely holding the data, admins literally cannot perform a self-service restore from Prism Element. To get that entity back, you have to contact Nutanix support. This isn't a bug, it's deliberately designed this way so that data recovery is handled safely by the experts.
All right, scenario 2. What if your cluster is running hot on storage space, and you need to manually purge the recycle bin right now? Here's your click path. Head over to the storage dashboard. Look for the storage summary widget. You can use either the diagram or table view, and hit View Details. A dialog box pops up showing the space used by the bin, and there you'll click Clear Space. But, and this is a highly testable UI detail, the Clear Space or Clear Recycle Bin button only appears if the bin actually contains files. If it's completely empty, that button simply does not exist on the screen.
Section 3, exam traps and edge cases. What to watch out for. Okay, if you see a question about specific cluster configurations and the recycle bin, your radar should be going off. We are deep in gotcha territory now. Mentally bookmark this table because these are the major exceptions. First, replication factor 1, or RF1, bypasses the bin entirely. Second, if your recycle bin hits more than 2,000 files, any new deletions bypass the bin. AOS just marks them for immediate deletion. Third, the recycle bin is straight up not supported on containers using Metro availability. And fourth, if you recover a VM that originally had a thick provisioned vDisk reservation, it actually loses that reservation upon recovery and defaults to thin provisioned. Let's actually dig into that first edge case for a second. Why does replication factor 1 bypass the bin? Well, think about the real-world use case. RF1 is heavily optimized for write-intensive applications that simply don't need storage-level data protection. We're talking ephemeral data, or apps that handle their own redundancy. Because it's meant for high-speed, temporary data, the system isn't going to waste precious IOPS or space holding on to deleted RF1 vDisks. Delete an RF1 entity, and it's gone. All right, back to the numbers. 5%.
If the recycle bin eats up more than 5% of your cluster's storage capacity, the system automatically disables the recycle bin temporarily. It's a built-in circuit breaker to prevent deleted files from completely consuming your primary storage.
Now, here's the catch, and it's a subtle one. That 5% cutoff, it doesn't happen instantly. Actually, let me be more precise. The system relies entirely on the curator service. That's the background process running cluster cleanup tasks. The auto-disable only triggers when curator flags that the threshold is exceeded during a full scan. So technically, you could sit above that 5% mark for a short window between full scans before the system officially disables the bin.
The flip side of that rule is 2%. Once you clear the recycle bin, whether it purges automatically or you go in and do it manually, and it drops down to using 2% or less of the cluster capacity, the system automatically re-enables the bin. And yep, just like the disable function, this only happens after a successful full curator scan.
Okay, please pay super close attention here because this brilliantly illustrates one of the absolute trickiest questions you might face on the exam. How does turning on rebuilt capacity reservation mess with this math? On a standard cluster, your 5% auto-disable threshold is calculated against your total usable capacity. Easy, right? But the moment you enable rebuild capacity reservation, the whole baseline shifts. That reservation shrinks your usable capacity down to what AOS calls resilient capacity. Once that's on, your 5% recycle bin threshold is now calculated strictly against that smaller, resilient capacity number. To put that into perspective, just look at this caution note. Enabling this reservation on a cluster that's already packed close to the resilient capacity threshold, you could literally cause a VM outage. The system shifts the recycle bin math entirely to protect your running workloads and guarantee you have the overhead needed to rebuild data if a node fails. Before we head into the home stretch, I'm going to throw one highly specific edge case at you. It's a prime candidate for a multiple choice distractor. If you use Nutanix X-Ray, their automated testing and benchmarking framework, you have to manually disable the recycle bin on your cluster before you run it. It's a tiny detail, but it's exactly the kind of trivia they love to test.
Section 4. Key facts to memorize, high-yield takeaways.
We have covered a ton of ground today, but we can distill the whole shebang into 4 crucial bullets. 1. The recycle bin gives you a 24-hour retention max, and it's enabled by default on new clusters by checking retain deleted VMs for 24 hours. 2. The feature auto-disables at 5% capacity usage and auto-re-enables at 2% usage, and both of those require a full curator scan to trigger. 3. RF1 containers and bins holding over 2,000 files bypass the recycle bin completely. And 4, to actually restore anything from the bin, you gotta call Nutanix support. There is no self-service button. I'll leave you with this final thought. When you sit down on exam day, will you remember to check if rebuild capacity reservation is enabled before you try calculating that 5% auto-disable threshold? Keep that baseline shift in the back of your mind. Visualize your click paths, and you are going to absolutely ace the recycle bin questions on your NCP-MCI 7.5 certification. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and best of luck on the exam.